Let's see. What it do, crispy crew. This is the place where we do not argue about politics. We don't argue about basketball. Well, Cap, we do actually do that, but we argue about One Piece. Um, if you aren't caught up to, at the very least, Wano of the anime, then I don't suggest you watch this video. I suggest you catch up first and come back later. Overall, I would say that if you know me, then you know that I'm a huge One Piece fan. Top 3 favorite manga of all time. Others being Haikyuu and Slam Dunk. I'll do videos on those at different time. But right now, I think we should start off with One Piece. Now, what I'm doing here today, hopefully you can see my screen, because if everything goes right, you'll be able to see the screen on the video. If not, you'll just see me looking at my laptop a lot because I have everything jotted down here on the Jamboard. You gotta love Jamboard. What you call it? What I have going on here is I'm basically making a versus battle with One Piece arcs and sagas. If you're looking at the screen, you can see that it seems a lot shorter than the actual amount of arcs that are in One Piece. That's because if I put every single arc on here, it'd take way too long. So yeah, here's the criteria of how I'm ranking these arcs. Writing, enjoyability, and overall hype. Simple criteria, and we can go from there. So I guess without further ado, let's start. First things first, the way I'm doing this versus as well is that I'm not going to go by each tit for tat for each arc and things of that nature, because post time skip One Piece just has so much less than pre time skip One Piece, because the time skip happened. If don't fact check me on this, actually no, do fact check me on this. If you actually know the real time, put it in the comments below. But I think somewhere around 2010, maybe 2009, somewhere in that general range is when the time skip was starting to go underway. So, and even then it's 2023, so 13 years is kind of crazy. And like 4 of those years was on Dressrosa, but that's a different story. It's a whole different discussion. Overall, basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be ranking each arc, and then at the end of the video, I'm just going to give you which arc which saga, pre-time skip or post-time skip, I enjoyed the most. Yeah, let's just go from there. So first things first, we are going to start with Romance Dawn. Now, Romance Dawn is basically the first, basically just like Luffy, Zoro, and Nami basically all meeting up. This is, I don't know, it's kind of hard to rate this arc because it's really just the beginning of everything. So like, I would say it's a good introduction though. Like, the first scene, the literal first episode, Luffy's breaking out of a barrel. So like, that, for whatever reason, when I first seen that created a lot of hype for me. I can only imagine what it actually felt like for people who was watching this shit when it first came out back in the 90s. Overall, I would say that when it came to like the Romance Dawn, I can't really think of any flaws that came to mind about the arc. Overall, I would just say it was pretty fun, dumb fun. Introduced the 3 main characters of the story, and basically introduced the motives of what we're going to be following going for the next, as we can see, 1,000 episodes plus. So overall, Romance Dawn, pretty good arc. Not really too much to say about it. I would rate that overall like a 9 out of 10. Good build up to story writing. Like literally the greatest introduction, well, not the greatest, one of the greatest introductions of anime in terms of shonen. Really enjoyable, and in terms of hype, I can't really say too much. Overall, I would give that a solid 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Okay. Then next, we have Orange Town. Now, forgot, which arc was Orange Town again? I think I misplaced some things. Because Baratie came before, I think I messed up here. I messed up the order here. Because I think Syrup Village came, or was it Baratie? Yeah, it was definitely Baratie. Okay, so I messed up the order here, but let's not get too let's not get too out of our let's not get too out of hand here, because overall, I think Baratie and Syrup Village came before Orangetown because Usopp and Sanji were in both of those arcs. That's where they were introduced. So I don't know why I did this. That was a mistake on my end. If you can see the screen, if you can't, then just disregard everything I'm saying right now. Because overall, what I'm looking at is we got I can't remember what came first between Baratie or Syrup Village. I'm pretty sure Syrup Village came first because that's when they introduced Usopp. Now Usopp, his arc was, I will admit, it wasn't boring. When I first watched it, on first watch, it's definitely not boring. It's really intriguing. You start to see, like, once again, it's an introduction to the main cast. It's an introduction to these characters. I think Usopp had a good introduction. He seemed to have a really good motive. He wanted to redeem himself because he feels like, as a man, he hasn't been doing himself justice. And overall, Syrup Village paints that in a good picture. It also introduces us to the Going Merry. I had to make sure I got the name right. One of the best vessels in the series. My personal favorite. I don't know. But yeah, then shortly after, I'm pretty sure it's just Baratie, which is Sanji's. Or was it Orangetown? No, I'm tweaking. It was Orangetown, because Orangetown was when Buggy came around. Yep, that's when, yep. I'm pretty sure Orangetown was when Buggy came around. Yep. Well, either way, Buggy was a really good introduction to the, series. It was already one of my favorite characters the first time he was shown on screen. He's just generally funny. I didn't expect, when I was looking back, it kind of made sense why they showed him as the very first villain, because if they showed anybody else, it would, I'm not gonna lie, they probably would have smoked the Straw Hats at this point. Even though pre-time skip niggas was kind of weak, but still, that's kind of what it was, right? But yeah, I already gave my thoughts on Syrup Village, but I guess we can go back to Sanji's Baratie arc. Now, if you've watched this channel before, you already know how I feel about Sanji. I don't like this nigga whatsoever. But I will say, when it comes to Baratie, Sanji, what's the best way to say this? Like, overall, like, Sanji, he has a good introduction, I will admit. And he has some pretty good fight scenes. Overall, the entire arc was really hyped. There's not really any writing flaws or plot holes or anything of that nature that goes into Baratie. So, like, there's not really much I can say here. Overall, I can just say, pretty good arc. I enjoyed it. I didn't even give my ratings for Orangetown or Syrup Village either. But for Orangetown, I rate that a solid 7 out of 10. Syrup Village, I rate that a good 6 out of 10. And Baratie, also a 7 out of 10. Now, this is where things start to get fun. Arlong Park. See, if you didn't like anything beforehand in terms of these arcs in One Piece, just a little, I don't know, we might put you in a psych ward, because that's basically what One Piece is. But then Arlong Park is where it's like, this is where people will be like, hey, cuz, if you get to this arc and you don't like it still, just drop One Piece, right? That's what most people say. So it's not entirely ridiculous. But personally, I felt like if you didn't even like the first 7 to 10 episodes, that you should have dropped the series already. But, well, I digress. Arlong Park, in terms of the hype factor, easy 10 out of 10. Overall, it shows just how much the Straw Hats are going to be relying on each other going forward. Like, this arc is what solidified that. It showed everybody, like, hey, cuz we're in this together. It showed Nami and Luffy's relationship, like, tightly. Even though they, at this point in the story, they literally just met. It showed how diehard Luffy and the gang are for their friends. And it showed just how, like, I don't know, it was just a really, I feel like this was the solidifying introduction to how everyone's going to be interacting as characters with each other, you know? This is how everyone's going to be interacting. Like, this entire arc from start to finish, like, when Nami was in help and she was like, please help me, like, and then Luffy put his hat on her head, bro, that solidified my hype for One Piece going forward. Even though I liked the episodes beforehand, that solidified my hype for the entire series. It was Arlong Park. overall, I would say even to this day, it's still top 5, one of my favorite arcs. I rate this a solid 10 out of 10 in every aspect, in writing, in hype, and just overall dumb fun. Because, like, another thing I also want to comment on for all these arcs previously, really just an entire pre-time skip, this shit's actually fucking funny as fuck. Like, niggas say, oh, anime can't be funny. They never watched One Piece. They never watched One Piece, or they haven't watched Dragon Ball, like OG Dragon Ball, or they haven't watched Gintama, because those 3 anime are actually fucking hilarious. But going back to one pre-time skip One Piece, like, bro, this nigga, like, I ain't gonna lie, bro, pre-time skip One Piece is actually, like, very fucking funny. And Arlong was kind of, even though it was very serious for most of the arc, it, in terms of peak comedy of pre-time skip, it was definitely up there. It was definitely up there. I would say top 5 funniest arcs pre-time skip. With, like, maybe, like, number 1 being, like, Sky Island or a Skypiea or something of that nature. But, moving forward to Logtown, or Logtown, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Later on in the series, this arc is actually a lot more important than When Them Meets the Eye. Because when I first seen this arc, I'm like, no, it looks like they just made Luffy have an ass pull for no reason. That's what it felt like, right? Because to give a little bit of background or a refresher for people who don't really remember the arc, it's basically, I think it's literally the last stop, the last island before he gets to the Grand Line, before the gang gets to the Grand Line. So at this point we have Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Sanji, Usopp, right? I don't think anybody else was introduced just yet. Yeah, nobody else was introduced in the gang just yet. So it was really just the core 5 or 6 members. I think it's 5. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji. Yeah, okay, yeah. So it was the core 5 members, right? The members that, at least when I first started watching the series, I thought it was going to stay those 5 niggas. But long story short, it didn't end up being just those 5. But I don't know, like, when I ain't gonna lie, Logtown kind of feels like a fever dream a little bit. Because on one end, it feels like Luffy almost died. But at the end of the day, when going forward into the rest of the series, that's like every arc. So, like, I guess it was just giving us that expectation of, like, this nigga's going to be able to, like, just get out of death a couple of times. Because I'm gonna keep it real. Pre-time skip, Luffy had a lot of plot armor. But later down the line, it made sense. It made sense why. We'll get to that at a different time. That's also kind of a spoiler. My fault, G. Anywho, let's see what we got here. No, like, overall, Logtown was a good introduction to one of my favorite Marines, Smoker. Overall, like, once again, I don't really have much to say about this arc other than good introductions to characters that are going to be important later down the line, like Dragon, Smoker, and still Buggy being the one to almost kill Luffy still fucking surprises me. It's still hilarious. And Luffy basically, like, smiling at his death. He was like, oh, well, hey. He said, hey, I gotta let it happen. If it happens, it happens, right? That's how Luffy's right? Which I think is very hilarious. But overall, like, I think Logtown was, like, giving us a preview of some crazy shit that can happen later down the line in terms of, like, not how Luffy is saved, but more of why, and, like, how important he actually is to the entire world building of One Piece. I know this is sounding very vague. I'm not giving, like, any specific examples, but it's also because I didn't reread these arcs before I'm doing this video. I'm not gonna lie. So, like, my memory is actually kind of, like, I would say, like, kind of Maybe when One Piece ends, I'll redo this video, but with, like, actually rereading the entire series first. Maybe I'll do that. Keep that in tune. I don't know. Overall, I would give Logtown a solid 7 out of 10. Keep it real, hype. It only got hype at, like, one point, and that was when Luffy was about to die, but then, like, the thunder struck or whatever. In terms of writing, it kind of foreshadowed a little bit, but, like, once again, I really can't remember off the top of my head right now. I should have took better notes for this video. I really should have. No, I don't like that. But yeah, overall, I rate this a 7 out of 10, generally. Alabasta. Okay, now this includes Whiskey Peak and Drum Island. So this is basically like the entire like Whiskey Peak and all those other islands leading up to Alabasta and Alabasta. So that entire saga, right? Now, pre-time skip, this is, well, I'm not gonna lie, just in general when it comes to One Piece, this is like top three, one of my favorite arcs as well. I'm not gonna lie, most of my favorite arcs are from pre-time skip. Being completely honest, looking back, but generally, what I'm talking about is that overall, I feel like this was a really good introduction to Nico, Robin. I'm saying this is a really good introduction for a lot of characters, but still, just hear me out. For Chopper, Nico, Robin, and Crocodile. Crocodile being someone who's going to be a huge force later in the series as well during Marineford. Well, I told you, if you weren't caught up to Wano of this arc, then don't bother. So I'm pretty sure I can say that in Marineford, he showed us that Luffy was not supposed to win during Alabasta. Like, overall, the entire arc encapsulates into something that I believe, I said encapsulates, what the fuck am I talking about? Overall, I would feel like that it's generally like a really fun arc that gets serious sometimes, but generally is like, what's the best, I can't, like, I'm not, it's kind of hard putting it into words, because generally my enjoyment for this arc is for so many different reasons that like it's kind of hard to like say all of them at once, if that makes sense. Overall, it's a very thrilling arc and it keeps you on your toes. And it also introduced characters and like really fun character interactions. This is when One Piece started to get like really fucking funny to me, because they really started to play on the situation that it was at hand. Like, there was a situation where like Luffy, Zoro, and Chopper was stuck in the desert, and like Luffy was like off doing who knows what, because that nigga ran off as he usually does. But then Zoro and Chopper were like having a very serious conversation that ended up turning into a very funny bit, because one, Zoro got lost. Two, they were trying to find Luffy, which I'm pretty sure that's what got him Zoro lost in the first place. Which overall, I just felt like it was pretty funny. But then I will say though, my only flaw with this arc would be the Crocodile versus Luffy fight. Even though I loved the fight, when it comes to a writing standpoint, Oda kind of just goofed up a bit. I ain't gonna lie. Oda really kind of goofed up a bit, because I felt like, this is just my theory, I feel like mid-writing, he felt, ooh, I could actually use Crocodile at a later point in the story. Luffy needs to win this one, but without dying. Or without either of them dying, right? Because at this point, nobody really died, but before this arc, the only person who reoccurs and comes back is Buggy. So, well, besides like, the Marines or some shit. But still, the point stands. So he's like, ooh, I need Crocodile to stay here. Because he, like, for whatever reason, he wrote Crocodile to be this big bad, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. And he was like, I felt like what happened is, he was like, ooh, maybe Luffy is kind of like out of his mind facing someone of this caliber at this point of his journey, right? So he was like, but I still need him to win so he can get off the island safely. So I think he pulled that water Luffy ass pull shit. That's what I'm starting to think that he did, just so he can bring Crocodile back and Luffy back at a later point in the series where it's going to be helpful for his narrative. That's what I think he did, which isn't entirely a horrible writing decision, but I feel like it was a last minute switch up. It was an audible. That nigga was in shotgun formation. He was like, ah, shit, we need to do a run play right quick, and just tossed it to his running back. That's what I think he did. Yeah, overall, Alabasta, I rate that a 9 out of 10. That's the highest rating I gave any arc pre-time skip so far, because every arc was good, but it did, I will admit, like, it's not even like that it had a writing problems. It's more of like just my personal enjoyment and just like the other factors that I mentioned earlier in the video. It all just got those like 7s or 8s, but Alabasta is a solid 9 out of 10. Sky Island. Now this is also one of my favorite pre-time. I ain't gonna lie, I just love every arc of One Piece. After like, cause like Arlong Park is when I started like really enjoying every episode, every arc, every like volume, whatever I was reading, watching, whatever that. Every minute of One Piece, I was just like flat out enjoying every second of it, right? And Sky Island was definitely one of those parts, because it played off of the comedy that we were already getting, But this time it added Nico Robin, which I feel like is top 5 funniest characters in the series, because like she doesn't try to be, but I mean it's not like any of the characters try to be, but like it's like sometimes Oda writes her in a way where it's like sometimes it's funny, but then sometimes he's not trying to be funny with her, but it's actually the funniest show on the planet, right? But it also showed us that in this universe, Luffy is kind of like broken. This was the first instance of like Luffy being the most broken nigga on the planet. And on top of that, Skypiea in this entire arc was crazy foreshadowing for the rest of the series. Like, that's why I don't suggest you skip any arc of One Piece. But if you're one of those weird ass niggas who skip arcs in anything, then at the very least do not skip Skypiea, because it's literally the most important arc. It's literally the most important arc, out in my opinion, when it comes to a lore standpoint. Like, I can't go too in depth because it goes past of what we're already seeing in the Wano anime, at least by the time that this video comes out. But it's generally like crazy foreshadowing. I could even say it's really good foreshadowing for Marineford if you want to think about it, because mind you, in Alabasta, that's when Ace was introduced. Ace was like, hey, I'm looking for this nigga called Blackbeard, right? Or I think that's when it happened. I can't remember. Don't quote me on this because I also have not reread the series, right? So if I'm wrong, definitely take this with a grain of salt, right? But if I remember correctly, Ace was looking for Blackbeard during Alabasta, or he was just fucking around. I can't remember what the one of the two was. But then when we see Blackbeard in Sky Island right before they go to Skypiea, like, it was kind of like a, oh, we don't know who the fuck we just seen just now. That's a nigga that's gonna be a dangerous force, right? And it's like, he's basically Luffy, but the dark side of Luffy. Like, Luffy is like a chaotic good. Well, if you want to even say that, that's an entirely different video. But Luffy is kind of like a chaotic good, while like Blackbeard's like a chaotic evil. And they had a small little clash before crossing paths and, you know, going about their days. Because mind you, Luffy and Zoro were getting called madmen for saying anything about Skypiea. They was getting basically beat left and right. And Luffy was like, don't even bother, cuz. And like, crazy enough, when I think that was the same arc. No, that was the same arc where Luffy like basically like beat the dog out of Bellamy, but with like 1 or 2 punches or some shit, right? And then that alone was already crazy foreshadowing for Doflamingo. Like, bro, this entire saga, this entire arc, bro, it's so crazy that you need to pay attention to it, because if you miss one thing, bro, you might be a little clueless when something else happens. Because like, I can't say this next thing because it's also a spoiler for past where we're at in Wano when this video releases. But it's general. I was talking about a certain event that happens, I think a couple episodes after, based off the pace that they're going, after Zoro's fight, where niggas are like, bro, how does this even happen? This is an ass pull, yada yada yada. But then, like, if you paid attention to, like, literally the entire pre-time skip, not even just Skypiea, because they jumped some hints in Skypiea, but also just, like, overall pre-time skip, bro, you would know they'd be hinting at that one event since the very beginning, bro. You would have to, like, you just have to pay attention. That's why I love One Piece, because, like, Oda drops, like, really small seeds of story in there. But overall, I give Skypiea, or Sky Island, also a 9 out of 10. Because, like, even on a side note, I don't know if I mentioned them before, but when I was watching One Piece, I watched pre-time skip and then read post-time skip. So, in terms of, like, anime openings and soundtracks, pre-time skip was definitely something that was amplified because of that. Like, even in Water 7, I'm just about to get to that, too. Like, the endings and openings for those, same thing for Sky Island, are so crazy. Like, they go so fucking dumb. So, like, I don't know. I just like them a lot. But anywho, speaking of Water 7, this is Water 7 Saga. This also includes Enies Lobby. I ain't gonna lie. This is the part where I personally believe that One Piece peaked before Wano. It wasn't Marineford. It wasn't Dressrosa. It wasn't Whole Cake. But it was Water 7, or specifically Enies Lobby. The hype factor for both of these arcs, straight 10 out of 10. Crazy fight scenes, introductions to the gears, overall, I can't even say nothing bad about this, bro. Like, if you're, for whatever reason, watching this video and you're not on Water 7, bro, you need, when you watch Water 7, bro, grab some snacks, grab a drink, and enjoy the show. It's so great. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. Like, I can't even, like, talk about how much hype I had. And it's pretty lore heavy, too, if you want to think about it. Because if you want, yeah, it's really lore heavy. Really lore heavy. Because I ain't gonna cap. Eni's lobby showed us that Kobe, one of the niggas that was introduced during Romance Dawn, or Orange Town, one of the two. It was definitely Romance Dawn. Not thinking about it. Yeah, it was Romance Dawn. That he's actually been on his shit working. It showed us that, like, these characters have development off screen and on screen. That Oda doesn't forget about his characters, unlike a certain mangaka who writes a manga that rhymes with Boruto, or that rhymes with Dragon Ball. No, I'm not beating around the bush. Let's keep it real. Dragon Ball, after like Namek Saga, side characters in Dragon Ball didn't matter. Like, maybe Android. You can maybe say Android Saga, but once Cell was introduced, it did not matter no more, bro. If you weren't Goku or a little bit of Gohan, it don't matter. One Piece, everybody matters, bro. Everybody has a play in this world because it's a world. It's not just two niggas fighting that determines the entire world. That's not how it works in One Piece. It's every character has their own role to play in the society. Whether you're a Marine, whether you're a revolutionary, whether you're a pirate, it doesn't matter. Even if you're just a civilian or some random swordsman that just be slicing ships up, talking about Mihawk, goated ass character. Overall, it was just like, it's like these characters are so fleshed out and have development. Like, even characters that are introduced in Water 7, they're gonna come back at a different time. And it's like, it's just like, it's crazy. It's so crazy. Next, though, we got Thriller Bark. Now, Thriller Bark, I will admit, this arc was one of One Piece's lows. I personally give this a straight 5 out of 10 off for it. Generally, I ain't gonna lie, half the arc was really boring. It had, like, don't get me wrong, it had its highs where it was kind of hype, but after that hype died down, it was really boring, I won't gonna lie. It introduced Brook, really great character, I love him. Like, I don't know how you can hate Brook. He's just he's black. I can't even speak right now, because, like, there's not really much I can say about Thriller Bark, bro. Like, it was a really forgettable arc, I will admit. It really is. Like, Luffy having his little monster form, like, that's cool, I guess, but the only, like, fire part of that arc, or a hype moment, was Zoro's nothing happened scene. After that, like, when that happened, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I was in the hotel room, because I was in a hotel at the time. I was in the hotel room, geeking. But nah. Overall, I would say that Thriller Bark is a solid 5 out of 10. Like I said before, has its highs, but the lows are really fucking boring. Then finally, the final saga of pre-time skip was the Summit War, which is Sabaody to Marineford. Now, Sabaody, I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but generally it's when Kuma came and split the Straw Hats up, basically, and, like, Luffy had a mental breakdown. He was like, look, cuz, we gotta come back in, like, 2 years. No, 2 days. My fault, 2 days. Was it 2 days? 2 days to 2 years? I forgot. I genuinely forgot. But overall, they have ended up deciding on 2 years that they needed to come back. They needed to train up. During those 2 years, though, we follow Luffy's story. Where he goes through Amazon, Lily, and some other shit. All a bunch of straight bullshit. This nigga was going through hell and back because he figured out, oh shit, my brother got captured by the fucking Marines. I gotta go save bro. So that's what he's doing. Well, he didn't get captured by the Marines. He got captured by Blackbeard's bitch ass. Even Whitebeard told him, like, hey, cuz, don't go after Blackbeard. Don't do it. Ace didn't listen. Dumbass nigga. Rip bozo. Anywho. He got captured by Blackbeard and was on basically his death sentence over Marine. at the Marine Ford. Luffy was like, I gotta go save my brother. And basically, he low-key accidentally assembled a squad of niggas and misfits to go do just that. Boa Hancock, one of the warlords of the sea, was like, I'm gonna help you out, just because she wanted some dick. He ended up finding Jinbei, who was like basically at this point an honorary member of the crew. He ended up teaming up with Buggy, and I think it was Mr. 3, the candle wax dude. Oh, timeout. Speaking of Mr. 3 anything, going back to Alabasta, shout out to Bon Clay, bro. Like, really random shout out, but like, shout out to Bon Clay. Literally one of the most goated niggas on the planet, bro. I think he comes back in Impel Down. I think that's what, yeah, I think he comes back in Impel Down. Because Impel Down, it brings back a lot of characters that we love from pre-time skip. I felt like it was kind of like a last hurrah before the time skip happens, right? My stomach is rumbling. I gotta wrap this up. Overall, like, it brought back a lot of characters that we know and love. And on top of that, it was generally like a fun arc. Like, even though it was very serious, it was very funny, it was very hype, and generally had a really good, like, I ain't gonna lie, the animation was crazy. Because I ain't gonna lie, before this, I think it was like Thriller Bark, the animation started to get a little, just a little, excuse me, just a little crazy in a bad way at certain parts. But then, like, the Summit War saga, bro, all that shit changed. Like, it was so crazy, it was so hype, but I will admit, there's certain parts of it that kind of dragged on a little bit. But we have to talk about the elephant in the room. I think that Whitebeard had a more impactful death than Ace. Me personally. Now, why do I say that? Whitebeard actually had motion, bro. That nigga really ran shit for real. Like, it wasn't Shanks. Well, okay. It kind of is Shanks. But we don't like talking about Shanks. Fuck that nigga. Because he never even shows up. The nigga doesn't even take care of his kid. Deadbeat ass father. What you call it? No. Shanks, I guess. But, like, really, bro? Niggas were scared of Whitebeard, bro. That nigga really ran shit when it came to, like, the East Blue, the Grand Blue, any of that shit, bro. The Grand Line. He was really the nigga who stopped niggas from doing shit besides Marine Ford, because I guess they're like, look, we need to kill this nigga Ace, and he was like, nah. But nah, Whitebeard's death, if he never died, Blackbeard would not be as powerful as he is. Because Blackbeard only has his fruit because Whitebeard died. Don't know why he has two. That's still not explained. Niggas have theories, go watch them videos. I'm not making theories videos today. But generally, if Whitebeard never died, Blackbeard is not as strong as he is. Which he still would have been pretty fucking devious. But he's not as strong. Because let's be real, Whitebeard has a devil fruit that's damn near world-shattering, bro. That's kind of crazy. At least when it comes to the scale of other One Piece devil fruits. I don't know, man. Like, overall, like, it's hard to give anything lower than a 10 out of 10 for this arc. You could even make the case for like 15 out of 10, but we can't break the scale. We have to go by the rules here. Straight 10 out of 10. There's literally not a single flaw in this arc. Like, yeah, some characters made dumb decisions, but that's just good writing. Let's be real. Like, Luffy jumping, like, Ace, like, stopping to be like, oh, what the hell you say about me, cuz? Oh, my fault. I accidentally kicked my camera. But no, like, Akainu killing Ace, I ain't gonna lie. I wanted to see that nigga go at this point. I didn't like him. I never liked him. There wasn't anything bad about him. I just didn't like him. So when he died, I was like, fuck Ace. Rip Bozo. Now, I will admit, they came from straight 10 out of 10 to a straight 2 out of 10. Fishman Island, straight doo-doo water. I'm not talking about this. I refuse. This island was so boring that it made me switch to the manga to go through it faster. This is by far the worst arc of One Piece ever. Your life means nothing. You serve zero purpose to this story. You should be erased from the One Piece memory now and give someone else that screen time. Or I'm I ain't gonna lie, cause there's no way that I'm a serious individual. I'm so unserious, my nigga. I'm so unserious. But no, we're skipping past Fishman Island. Dressrosa. This includes Punk Hazard through Dressrosa. Now, if I remember correctly, Punk Hazard is when they met Law, or like right before Punk Hazard. But generally, this is when Luffy and Law went on their very famous alliance that's basically carrying post time skip. Law, at first I didn't like him until like Wano, I will admit. I just didn't like him. Same thing with Sanji. There wasn't really a particular reason. I'm just a hater. Phil, if you're watching this, fuck you, nigga. Because those are basically his two favorite characters at this point. Same thing with Kevin. That nigga loves Law and Sanji, bro. Fuck both y'all niggas. Anywho. Generally, Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, it kind of feels like a fever dream a little bit. But in terms of general enjoyment, I read it, not watched it. In terms of general enjoyment, I liked it. It kind of just, I ain't gonna lie, it felt like it went by a little too fast for Punk Hazard. Dressrosa dragged on a bit. The pacing for Dressrosa was kind of crazy. But overall, Dressrosa is just Alabasta, but in different skin, I guess. So overall, in terms of hype, we did get a lot of good shit though. Gear 4, so that's fun. Overall, a solid 8 out of 10 for both Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, that entire saga. I think that's a solid 8 out of 10. But next is Whole Cake. Now, if you asked me about Whole Cake at least a year ago, I would have told your ass that this shit fucking sucks. But after rewatching it, this is one of the only arcs that I actually rewatched as of recent or reread. This shit actually went fucking hard. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I didn't like Sanji's story arc. I do keep that in mind, but I also don't like his character. So it's like, like he had like it was well written. I just didn't like it. But it was very fucking hype. I will admit, it was very fucking hype. And generally an enjoyable read. It was an enjoyable read. I can't speak for the niggas who watched the anime on it, but it was a very enjoyable read. And overall, Snake Man is by far one of the most, I would say the one of the most hype transformations we got in One Piece so far. That's all I can say about it. Overall, Whole Cake is also, I put it a similar rating, solid 8 out of 10. Now, Wano, even though in the anime it's not finished, in the manga it is, not finished it, solid 10 out of 10. This is peak fiction. Even in the anime at this point, this is peak fiction. Like, if I thought Eni's Lobby was good. No, Wano is peak fiction, bro. Like I said, if you're still on the anime, you already know what I'm talking about. This animation's fucking absurd. Like, it's crazy. Zoro's fight, Sanji's fight, basically Luffy and Kid breaking out of jail, the entire story writing, the story arc, Kaido as a villain, this shit is fucking peak, bro. I don't know how One Piece can possibly top this, bro. At least in terms of like the animation side of things, I'm not sure how One Piece can top this. And in terms of like the manga side of things, I still don't know how Oda is being able to top this. This man's writing fire on a daily basis. This man's writing fire on a daily basis. How is he doing this? It's crazy. No, oh no. There's not really much I can say about Wano, like, without spoiling. Because I have to, if I talk about Wano, I have to talk about the entirety of it. And like I said, if you're on the anime side of things, I would be spoiling it if I talk about the entire things. So I can't right now. But I'll make an entirely different video about, like, Wano in general. Because I just generally think it's fucking crazy. Matter of fact, if you want to see a breakdown of each arc, because I think I might just go fuck around and just, once I catch back up to the manga again, I might go back and reread or rewatch every One Piece arc, make a video about it. If you want to see something like that, make sure to comment down below. Say if you want to see it. But overall, though, I think that's the last arc before in the manga, because there's a different arc in the manga that's going on right now that I can't say anything. Overall, I would say my personal enjoyment overall was pre-time skip over post-time skip. But that's very unfair to say because, like we said before, post-time skip has less arcs. It has less screen time. So, I don't know. It's very hard. But overall, One Piece in general is a 10 out of 10 anime. and a 10 out of 10 in manga. It has its ups and downs, but overall it's like it's damn near flawless, right? Um and yeah, like I don't really have anything else to say about this. What is your opinion on One Piece? Like, do you like post time skip or pre time skip more? If so, why? Make sure to comment down below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe, and follow the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast channel. Follow the podcast on Spotify, and be sure to follow my Twitch. I stream on there sometimes. I've been streaming a lot of Street Fighter 6 lately. Overall, tell me what you guys think about it. Y'all have a good one.